LSU Baseball head coach Jay Johnson is focused on his players as the Tigers start up the second half of the SEC season at Missouri this weekend. LSU is going to have to buckle up and almost become a new team the second half of the season to get themselves in a position to be in the NCAA tournament. I'll be back with more after this commercial.
The East Baton Rouge Library says this is the year to invest in you. The library brings value by connecting you to information, resources, materials, technology, and experiences. We make a positive difference in your life. All you need is your library card. Stop by one of our 14 locations, open 7 days a week, or find us online at ebrpl.com.
LSU, who's 23-15 overall and 3-12 in the SEC, is reeling from being swept by number 4 Tennessee and snagging a midweek home win against UNO. Missouri, who's 17-21 overall and 5-10 in the SEC, just came off a 1-2 series against Georgia and scored a midweek run over Missouri State.
You know, obviously we're the defending or reigning national champions. Certainly a high standard. I do believe we have good players. The schedule's been tough. We expect to win every game that we play, but it's been tough, and so you have to kind of look at it as like the play and the game, and yet, the opponents that we've played, particularly on the road, I think they're 2-3 or whatever, and it make it hard in some areas of the game.
Missouri's batting stats aren't shining this season with the lowest average in runs per game in the SEC. Jackson Lovich stands out with a .301 average, while Trevor Austin leads in homers and RBI. On the flip side, LSU boasts a solid .281 batting average and 60 homers this season. Jared Jones and Tommy White lead the pack in RBI. Pitching-wise, Missouri's ERA sits at 5.51 with Carter Rustard leading the charge. LSU's rotation has seen some shakeups recently, with Luke Holman standing out as one of the best pitchers in the SEC.
Looking back at last weekend, the positives, obviously I thought we were much better from a starting pitching perspective. I thought Gage did a good job. It didn't help him on defense because we were trying to ignite a little bit of offense. I thought Luke was exceptional, obviously. And then, Griffin, gave up the hit, but then, kind of did what he's done the rest of the time out of the pen. I thought Nate did a nice job on Sunday. I mean, that was not a friendly place to pitch on Sunday. And out of the bullpen, I mean, just some of our more talented guys, it's starting to take as skill you can use in the game, and we're going to keep going to those guys. And I thought last night's game, the pitchers did a really good job, and some of those guys needed a good outing last night, and was very happy about that. Offensively, I still think we have a lot to do better, and but really for what we're moving with the team is we're going to be incredibly positive. We're going to communicate really well and be really consistent, with them and what we're trying to do, because the players need that right now.
To go more in depth about this LSU baseball team and what it's looking like for the Tigers is Teddy Cahill, a college baseball writer with the news and sports director of the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo, and the editor of Tiger Rag, Todd Horne, after this commercial.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
And we bring in Teddy Cahill from Baseball America, covers college baseball for Baseball America. And Teddy, LSU, they have really had some struggles here, very difficult schedule, playing several teams ranked in the top 10 in a row. And we're back on the road again this weekend, taking on Missouri, who's not as good as some of the teams they've played, but certainly more than capable after they swept Florida a couple weekends ago. But LSU now at 3-12 in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, is it safe to say that they're going to have to go 10-5 the rest of the way in league play to get themselves back in position to be in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the situation. I think that you've had one SEC team make it with 12 SEC wins. That was Alabama a few years ago, but they didn't play 30. They only played 29, so they were able to say that they were 12-17 as opposed to 12-18. So unless the selection committee really changes the way that it's perceived league records, you've got to get to 10-5 here the rest of the way, or go crazy in Hoover.
What have you seen as far as the issues here with this LSU baseball team? It just seems like it's a multitude of things, right? The lack of timely hits, troubles on the mound, defense has been shaky. What can go wrong has gone wrong. Is that what you've seen?
I mean, I think that's certainly one way to look at it. I think that there are a number of issues you can look at. It's really, to me, it just comes down to nobody's picked up the other part of the team when they've needed it. The bullpen has held leads a lot of the time, but in two specific instances, they gave up late leads at home to Vanderbilt and to Florida, but nobody picked them up by scoring more runs to reverse the situation there. And when the offense hasn't scored, the pitching hasn't been good enough. When the offense has scored, they just haven't been able to find the right mix at any given moment. And it's no one part of the team's fault. I think that is true. It's been a number of things.
Teddy, do you believe in this day and age of college baseball that older players and experience, which certainly LSU had a lot of last year with Dylan Cruz and the rest of the mature, experienced players, Cade Beloso, et cetera, that were on the team last year, do you think that is the ingredient that separates some of these teams today?
I don't think it's that simple. And if it is that simple, there's no guarantee that it's going to continue being that way going forward. A lot of people have mentioned that in the last couple of years, as COVID had given everyone the extra year of eligibility. Obviously having older players helps, but what defines an older player really matters. Does being old for the sake of being old matter, or does having SEC at-bats matter? These are all, differing ways to look at it. And then the other thing is that even if you figure out what that means going forward, the COVID years are about to be washed out of college baseball. So, yes, there's still ways to be old through, maybe bringing in an Ivy League transfer who, redshirted a year somewhere along the way, and so that this is his fifth year, or another player like that. But there are going to be a lot less opportunities just to be old. So I don't really buy into that terribly much. I think there are good teams that have been very young. If you look at TCU last year, which was one of the last four teams standing, they were playing a ton of freshmen and sophomores. And they're struggling this year, to be sure. But I don't think it's as simple as the oldest team wins.
Teddy, do you believe that Jay severely underestimated the progress that this roster could make, and that's why they've struggled to this point? I mean, you mentioned their lack of clutch hitting, paraphrasing you, but their lack of clutch timely hitting, they've certainly had a lot of problems with that. They're basically a power-based team still, like LSU's always been offensively, or at least under Jay, and they're not hitting the home run. They're not. They out-hit Tennessee all weekend and weren't able to score any runs. Is that the biggest problem? He did allude to the fact that they were going to be a strong pitching team, and then the offense was going to have to come along. But that neither one of those things have happened, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to there are a number of problems here, and whether that's evaluation or development, a combination of the two. Some injuries haven't helped here and there. Clearly, a lot is going on here in terms of what the issues have been. And I mean, I just don't think that there's any way to really boil it down into one neat and tidy solution as to what happened. I think that obviously there are older players that aren't producing, there are younger players that aren't producing. The problems here are pretty varied.
Do you feel like they're closer than we may think, though, and they could actually catch some steam and make something happen in the second half of the SEC season?
I mean, they're 100% not a 3-12 SEC team. Like, I don't think that's reflective of what they are. The issue, though, is that the hole is dug so deep that, again, it's 10-5 the rest of the way, and there's really no wiggle room on that. Like, they cannot lose a series without making up for it with a sweep or multiple sweeps potentially. So I expect them to play better in the second half of the season. Is that going to be good enough to get into the field? Like, that's a different kind of question, but I do expect that you're going to not see a 3-12 team over the next 5 weeks.
They finally get a breather, and we're talking with Teddy Cahill from Baseball America. Finally get a breather this weekend where they go to Missouri, but there's no guarantee that they're going to win the series here. As we alluded to at the top of the interview, Missouri just swept Florida. You got to go there. It's going to be chilly there in Columbia. But tell us about this Missouri team and what they did exactly to end up sweeping Florida, and why this is, obviously a team that LSU can't take lightly.
Missouri is all about pitching. If you look at their offensive stats, particularly in SEC play, they're not very good. And what they are, though, is they're pretty solid on the mound, and that's what Florida found out. Florida got, I think it was 2 hit on Friday night in their loss, and one of those hits was a solo home run in the 8th inning. So that was a 2-1 extra innings loss on Friday night. It really just comes down to, can you handle Missouri's pitching, because the offense is not close to one of the best ones they're going to face. The environment in Columbia is going to be a little bit different than, what they saw in Knoxville. It's just a different deal when you go there. I don't know exactly how cold it's going to be this weekend. That was also a factor for Florida, I think, was the wind and the cold. It looked like a pretty miserable time the first couple days of that series, but none of that is going to be like a viable excuse. That this is a team that you can beat, but also is good enough to beat you if you don't play to the best of your abilities.
Teddy, is there a player or two that you're looking at LSU and saying, man, I cannot believe that guy is underperforming, or man, I'm surprised that I thought this guy was certainly going to take another step this season?
I mean, I thought that to Hurd, what he did in the second half of last season, that was, they had solved what was going on there. So for him to not have been able to work things from there, especially from the high point of winning the decisive game in the championship series, that's been a surprise to me. I mean, you can point to a number of guys.
Teddy, we really appreciate your time here tonight. Thank you very much. Enjoy your coverage of college baseball at Baseball America, and we'll talk again here soon.
I think that most people that contact the 90-Day Lifeline are looking to be heard and to feel seen.
Anybody that calls here to talk about anything that has them upset, we will talk to them.
Even on our chat and text services, you will be actually chatting and texting with a real person.
We have enough resources to be able to help people in any type of situation.
We have helpline specialists that are trained to handle the variety of calls that we get.
It's a very laid-back thing. We're not judging anybody. We're just a listening ear that some people don't have.
All right, that's it for today's episode. The baseball team will be playing tomorrow night at 7 p.m. against Missouri, Saturday at 4, in the final game of the series on Sunday at 2 p.m. Stay tuned to TigerRack.com for all LSU sports updates, and I'll be back.